I want you to imagine with me. I want you to imagine with me that there's a story from your past about an event that might have tried to break you. This event, no matter what it is, no matter what it looks like, might have been one of your darkest nights of the soul. This event might bring on some shame, a bunch of fear and embarrassment. But picture this. You're sitting across a table from somebody, having a cup of coffee with them, and you simply say, "Here's what happened to me." When you do that, just imagine the freedom that you feel and just the hope and the power and the purpose that you give to that other person just by telling your story of what tried to break you. The mere fact that you're sitting at that coffee table having coffee with somebody and you're able to tell them that story because you survived. Those types of events are why I am so passionate about helping people find their voice so that they can tell their story. See, this is why we tell those vulnerable stories. This is why we tell those embarrassing stories. They're not for us. They're for everybody else. And let's just say that you've got one of those stories that you want to tell that is just burning a hole in your soul. That book that you want to write or that talk that you want to give, but you don't know how to tell that story. You don't know what kind of healing or what kind of connection and reconnection with yourself that you might need to be able to tell that story. I'm about to share a story like this from my own life, but I want to take y'all back to the first week in February of the year 1994. I was about 6 weeks or so from turning 17. And let's begin with that Saturday. It was Saturday, February the 5th. I will never forget this as long as I live. I had an appointment at the University of Alabama campus to take the ACT college entrance test for the first time. And when I left home, I noticed that there was a super heaviness in the house. Like the energy, I have described it multiple times, like the energy was like the windows on a deep diving submarine broke at 1,000 feet deep. Like that was the pressure I was feeling. And it was at like 7:30 that morning. Mom and Dad were in the middle of one of those conversations that it was obvious that they had been having for hours. Now, when I got home that night after taking that test, I was sitting in my room about to watch Saturday Night Live. Patrick Stewart was the host that evening. Mom knocks on my door, says, "Can you come here? I've got something I need to tell you." It was at that time that I found out that my dad had been in some serious drug addiction, and that had been going on for years. Now, that was only on Saturday where this happened, and obviously I'm hit with a flood of emotion and feelings. Later on that week, I believe it was the following maybe Tuesday or Wednesday, I find out that one of my only friends tried to take his own life and was in the hospital. Now, do you know how much healing and strength it took for me to just simply tell that story for the first time? I mean, I've written about it in multiple articles. There's a good portion of my memoir, Mining from My Voice, devoted to the events of that week. But oddly enough, I felt so much shame around that week that I just kept it hidden for years. But it took multiple therapists and coaches and writing coaches. It took so much for me to be able to share that story. I mean, you can still tell that it still kind of gets to me, even though it's been 30 years. See, these stories, these feelings never go away. But I truly believe that that story, me telling that story, may have helped someone if one of their parents might have been in active addiction, or if they had a friend who was dealing with some, let's just call them some very unkind thoughts about themselves. If my telling that story helped people see that in themselves, then I've done my job. I want to help you. I want to help you find that story, find your voice so that you can tell the story of what tried to break you. And we start simply by having a conversation. We connect either over Zoom or on the phone, or even coffee if you're local here in Connecticut, and we get to the reason why you want to tell your story. And then I just help you find your voice and help you work through the inevitable fear and anxiety that come up when you tell those just super vulnerable stories. I have been publishing books, writing and publishing books for a decade now. And it happens to me every single time when I'm about to release a new book. There's sleepless nights, there's fear, there's worry, there's anxiety, there's just the stuff that inevitably comes up because it never goes away. But I know that my purpose as a storyteller, my purpose as an author is greater than all of that fear, all of that worry. If my message resonates with you in any way, even if I don't know you personally or if we've known each other for years, if my message that I'm sharing here today resonates with you at all, I want you to do two things. First of all, hit that subscribe button, because there's going to be more content, more videos just like these to help you kind of figure out where you want to go with your storytelling journey. And secondly, visit royalheartsmedia.com. You can see some examples of the books that I've published, books that I've published for clients, and hopefully inspires you to be able to begin your own storytelling journey. Because I truly believe with every fiber of my being, your story can change the world. You may think you live in a bubble. You may think that your story happened in a bubble. And it did. The human race is one big bubble. I want to help you find your voice so that you can tell the story of what tried to break you. And if telling your story changes one life for the better, even if it's the man or the woman in the mirror, if telling your story changes one life for the better, then you've done your job, and you've done a damn good job at it. One more thing before we go. There's a link in the description of this video to my Calendly page. Get on my Calendly page, get some time to be able to connect with me, because I want to help you tell your story. Your story, your voice can rattle the foundation of humanity, even if it starts with just one person. Your story can change the world.